Hello and welcome to episode 5 of the Pin Podcast. I am PinUp Miami, your host, and today I just wanted to tell you something before I start with the podcast. Is a big thank you to everyone who's subscribed on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube. It really means a lot to find individuals that relate to the topics that I'm talking about, and it's so grateful to, and I'm grateful to get your DMs, emails, your texts with the phone line 1-833-4A-PINUP. And it's always nice when, you feel alone in something and you find people that relate to issues. And,
Yeah.
And before I introduce this wonderful gentleman next to me, I wanted to give you a little history on my podcast, because we're already on episode number 5. So I have to tell you all why I chose the cover art that I have for this channel. And it wouldn't have been possible without this gentleman right next to me. And before I say his name, I'm going to tell you. So I've always been into pinup for like the last couple of years. And for this podcast, of course, I wanted it to have a vintage flair. But I also love modern times because there's a reason why we are evolving every day. So something in the 50s is people would talk on a telephone. So with telephones, you have people talking to each other, communicating information, gossip, any type of issues. And I wanted to have telephones on my cover because a podcast communicates issues and it's a way to make friends and talk. So that's why I wanted telephones in a vintage flair. And then I wanted to create a modern outfit with a vintage vibe, but mainly for the telephones. And I made the hat and I'm saying things like I made it. But in reality, who made it was Jessie Melero, this gentleman right here. And without him, my vision wouldn't have come to life. He made these beautiful phones. I have them back here. They were molded and casted from a real vintage phone. And not only does he just help me with projects, because I'm not his only person. He is a Renaissance man, a man that does everything under the sun. He could sculpt. He could body paint. He could create anything out of anything, to be honest. Is that true, Mr. Melero?
Well, so far. But that's a wonderful introduction, Jennifer. Yeah, I've been a professional production artist probably 35 years. And I've built all kinds of crazy things for film, television, special events. Plus, I do a lot of my own unique style of art and sculptures and so on. So, yeah, there's almost nothing I can't do so far.
So what would you say was the first project that got you started into being what would you call yourself? Like if somebody were to tell you, give me one sentence of what you do.
My personal definition of myself would be a professional production artist, meaning being an artist and creating is one thing, but when you have to create on demand, it's a slightly different aspect where if you're not feeling the creative vibe, you have to make it. There's deadlines, schedules, and things, so you never know what someone's going to throw at you, and sometimes you have no time to do it. Okay, we need, a life-size Statue of Liberty. Let's say a 6-foot Statue of Liberty, and you've got, 1 week to pull it off, where a normal artist could take, months in his spare time creating it, where, okay, I got to make this happen in a week. So, yeah, it's a different type of challenge artistically, but I'm been doing it long enough. I guess I'm up for it.
You like the challenge?
Yeah, these days I find even if I don't have a challenge in the sense of commissions or employment, I tend to challenge myself constantly. I'm always coming up with new ideas and crazy things to create. So it's a good thing, I guess. I'm living the dream that most people wish, that they go to work and they get to do what they love.
And what was the first project or challenge that you found yourself that really kickstarted what you're doing now?
Oh, that's impossible to say, really, because I think since I was a kid, I've been drawing, painting, and sculpting, and my early jobs were not directly in that field. They were regular jobs working in warehouses and whatnot. So at one point, my talent was recognized and I was utilized through one of my, I guess, jobs at the time. Now, my last several jobs, I've been hired strictly because I am, carpenter, sculptor, set builder, prop maker, body painter, costume maker, and so on. So I guess like I said, there's no one thing just led to another, and I just followed the path that it led me.
And what were so when they come to you with an idea, what is the process from, like, a quick process of the start to beginning, like from the beginning to the end? It's a concept, but they have to run it through you first to make sure that you guys are able to.
Yeah, I refer to that as a concept to completion, to where someone will have an idea. Okay, I need a 6-foot diamond ring. The client wants a 6-foot diamond ring for an event or photo shoot, and they'll approach me, ask me, okay, what materials do we need? How much time do you feel? So I give them an idea of how to build it, what materials, what the costs are, the estimated labor. They take that, factor in the costs, submit it to the client, then they get an approval, then they hand it to me. Go ahead, make it happen.
And you also do your own commission pieces for people, right?
Oh, yes. I'm constantly constantly bombarded with commissions. These days, I try to avoid commissions because I want to focus mostly on my personal art. But, a job is a job sometimes. Rent still needs to be paid.
And your personal art is, you have your cosplay and your what do you call this? Your sculptures.
Correct.
And body painting.
Body painting is between the body painting and sculpting. I think those are my two current favorite forms of self-expression at this point in my career.
What was your first body paint like?
I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified because I had never worked with a nude model before, and it was one of those things that I think my hands were actually shaking. I was so scared. But the creative end I could handle, but working with a live nude model for the first time, yeah, that was a little nerve-wracking. But it came out well. I was happy with it, and one led, again, once I had a few under my belt, then I felt more comfortable, more professional, and I guess the rest is history.
And as a plus size woman, I wouldn't feel comfortable getting, like, body painted, but you've painted all types of bodies. I've seen you do incredible work on, like, any type, any size. Like, is there, like, a certain different kind of technique you need for a different body type, or is it all, like, the same? Like,
actually, no. I find it, depending on what if you're going to do, let's say, a specific character, and the more the model looks like the character, it lends itself better to the finished product. But me as an artist, it's irrelevant to what the girl looks like. You're creating art. So the body type doesn't matter. The time, it's the same time. It's all the same to me. And okay. I have to me, the body type really is irrelevant to the work.
So it's like, I guess you would feel the same way towards your clients, like a gynecologist feels about looking at a woman's thing all the time.
Well, when you say it like that, it's kind of pretty much true. You get to, it's being professional.
Yeah.
It's respecting your models, respecting the work, and again, it just really comes down to being professional. I get asked a lot of questions from guys, especially, hey, how do you, work with these women and, not get excited. And it's like, well, I don't see it that way. It's just something I do. You come in, you do the job, and you move on. And it's about the work, not about, perverting it into,
Yeah.
something that it really isn't.
What would you say is like the proudest job you've ever done? Like that you're so proud of that you would hang it on your fridge if you can, but it's probably too big for that.
Well, you've been to my house.
Yes.
And my art is all over my house. So I'm proud of everything that I do. Now, if you say what's my proudest sculpture, I could probably pick, a piece. If you say what's my proudest body paint, there's one or two that really stand out. So it's difficult because each genre has its own merits. Again, if you tell me which is my favorite cosplay.
All right, tell us what your favorite cosplay is. I want to know because my favorite, he does a lot of cosplays, and my favorite is a Godzilla Samurai. It's like a slash of Godzilla and Samurai put together, and it's like perfectly done. But I know that's not one of your favorites.
But actually, I hated that cosplay. I hated it. It was, when I first had the idea, I was so excited. Oh my God. I was like, wow, nobody thought of this before. I can't wait to do it. Halfway through the build, I just got frustrated and just gave it up. And I didn't touch it for a year. It just sat, in storage. And then I worked on many other projects. And then I had a situation where I had a lot of free time. I said, let me pull this thing out, get to work on it again. Forced myself to finish it. Once it was completed, I still wasn't feeling it. And ironically, you're not the first person to say of all my cosplays, it's one of their personal favorites. And it's just so funny. I was actually, the first time I wore it to a convention, unbeknownst to me, one of the original Godzilla suit actors was at the convention.
Oh.
And the particular Godzilla that this suit was based on was the actual suit that this actor wore. And it was a thrill to be wearing it, to meet the actor, get his autograph, and he posed with me graciously. And again, that made it one of the highlights of, it made that costume worthwhile.
And if you're watching this on YouTube, I'll make sure to put the pictures on the screen. And if you just want to see all of his cosplay, you can follow him at Jessie_Melero.
So it's, yeah. She'll put
but
the
what's your
spelling
favorite?
In what? Cosplay?
Yes.
Oh.
Or your top 3.
I think my personal favorite is going to be the one that isn't even finished yet, which is my custom Mandalorian armor. Not based on any of the canon films or the series, just an original concept of mine. But I did a Predator Stormtrooper that is amazing. It is incredibly uncomfortable to wear.
Oh.
But I think one of my the one that I have a lot of, my 2 cosplays that I have the most fun with is I do Rumpelstiltskin from Once Upon a Time.
Oh, yes, and you look just like him.
And I resemble the actor, so that really lends itself. And my Nick Wilde from Zootopia.
Oh, yes, that's a good one, too. He has really good cosplays.
That's a lot of fun. The people's reaction, people just all want to run up and give you a hug and take pictures with you and everything. So that's the satisfaction, that people acknowledge the character. It's not that I did the work. It's more that, you've made someone happy. You bring, joy and happiness to that you, brought something to life. And if it made other people happy, then to me, that's the reward.
Oh, yes. I know I don't do cosplay, but I know when I wear dresses and I go to events and little girls look at me or they say I look like a Disney princess or super cute, or they just admire the way I look, it really brings me joy because I'm like, I needed that as a child, at least in my point of view. Like, oh, look how cute. She could wear that. I could wear that if I'm her age. I just don't have to wear like that all the time. It's super cute.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of respect for these guys that have a lot of free time and have some great costumes, and they go to the hospitals and visit the kids, as Batman and Superman and Captain America and so on. And it's that same reaction you get from adults and children alike. I do it for the pure joy of doing it. There is no, I didn't plan to do it as a career. I just do it because I love it. And, can't wait to keep on creating.
And what would you say was your first big project? Like the first project you felt that, oh, this is big. It could be your personal or job related.
Wow. Again, another tough question. Again, my career is spanning 35 years. I guess.
Just the first one you felt like.
I think when I was working for this production company, Prop Masters, and we had to build this massive castle for a huge gaming event, and we had to sculpt these gigantic superhero feet, and
for a castle.
The castle was part of it. The castle was where they had a lot of television monitors and everything, but then in other strategic corners of the venue, they had all these gigantic superhero feet as well. And knowing that they were I think it was being shipped to Germany. So that was my first big event. And then I did several commercials with this company. The first time you see something you've created on television, I think is a big, big, big boost for the ego. You know, like, oh my God, I made that. Look, it's on TV. You know, you feel proud of yourself.
So tell me, what TVs have you been on? I know you've been on Telemundo.
I've been featured once or twice. I've been in the newspaper. I've been interviewed
for parades. I saw newspaper clippings of you in parades.
Yeah, there's old pictures in the Miami Herald when I was used to work for the Orange Bowl Parade. There's a lot of commercials I've done. If any of you ever get to Miami International Airport, if you look at the Chili's restaurant there, the big chili pepper sitting outside, I sculpted that and installed it. So there you go.
So when you go to the Miami airport, since a lot of the people here, well, most
for
of the people are in Miami, take a selfie and tag Jessie.
So, but yeah, I've worked for Telemundo, Univision. I've done a lot of body painting for a lot of their television shows as well. So it's nice seeing your work on TV. And again, it's, you know, I don't do it, you know, well, it's a job. I'm being paid. Let's be honest. You know, I spent my life, you know, building my skills, and now I'm hired as a professional to do these things. But it's that bonus when you get to see your work on television. It's like, wow, I did that.
Oh, and you see the music videos?
Yeah, actually, I've done a few music videos here and there. I've actually built machine guns for the front of a 76 Monte Carlo. I've built, I just finished, actually earlier today, I had a client just pick up several custom masks I just finished for another music video. I built a telephone booth for a visual effects shot, for a water effects rain for another music video. So yeah, there's.
And you teach. You've also spoken in conventions, right? And you have.
I've done a lot of the panels. Yeah, quite a few panels discussing mold making, costume making, casting. I find the mold making and sculpting are the higher demand topics that people want to learn from me. Because most people know how to do basic fabrication and things with costumes and sewing and EVA foam, but doing the silicone molds and the resin casting, that's a little bit more challenging, and there really isn't a lot of places that teach this. So I make it a point to try to share that information as much as possible. And on a side note, Jennifer has been incredibly instrumental at helping me with my personal YouTube page to get out there, so that I think, you know, one of my callings, I guess, is to just share my knowledge. You know, I guess I'm a natural teacher.
You are. And in the process of making these beautiful telephones for my podcast cover, you know, I recorded him, and he was really nice and like explaining every step of the process. You know, it's nice to learn. You know, you could take, you know, I'm not going to be making props out of anything, but if I ever wanted to recreate like a jewelry set or something small, you know, you can use the same techniques that he uses for prop making to use for other projects. And it's always nice to learn. So Jessie has so much knowledge that I have no problem, you know, helping him out in whatever he has to do. And you have something else to say?
No, I was just gonna, exactly what you said. I think our friendship has been so mutually beneficial that, you know, she's creating this brand of hers with the PinUp stuff, and anytime she needs anything, she always comes to me, and I'm more than happy to do anything for her.
Aww.
You know, and she's reciprocated the same by helping me in my career as well. So it's been very, very positive friendship. I think, we were just meant to do things together.
Yeah, because we all need that one step. Like, the reason you didn't do your YouTube yet is you like me with this podcast. I've been wanting to do it, but it's always like we always have these ideas that we want to do something, but we're always scared to take the next step because you're scared of like, what if nobody's watching? What if nobody's listening? Then I got to keep going with this, and you always need that one little push. And I didn't have anyone, so I took forever to do things. So when Jessie had the idea, and I just wanted to help out, even if it's just to give the first initial like push off the pool to make you swim and then keep going. And now I got his nerves all riled up.
So yeah, when she created my YouTube channel and I put that first video up, I was actually, again, terrified. I was like, oh my God, this is happening. This is real. Now I have to keep making videos. But now I'm loving the experience. It's been, I don't want to say liberating, but at the same time, it has been very invigorating and exciting to make the next video, because I have produced so much that is not as well documented as it could have been, where now all the processes I do are being documented and recorded, and now I can share, everything. So Jennifer's making that happen.
So it's just like your projects. With every project, you learn a new thing, you improve, and you're just challenging yourself. You're like, I did this Mandalorian, or I did this Samurai Godzilla. Now you want to incorporate Predator with a Stormtrooper.
Stormtrooper, yeah.
And all these mashes. Like, even with my dresses, I try to improve. And with this podcast, I try to learn from each of them, and hopefully my audience sees that I try to improve with everything. And even with my dresses, I try new techniques, or I try a little out-there-ness, if that's a word. But I really try. And
now that you said it, it's a word.
But that's something I always try to tell people that contact me, and they're like, oh, I love the way you dress. I'm like, you just got to do it. And this is why I started the brunches. People needed an excuse to dress a certain way, and I gave it to them. And I've loved seeing people evolve it into their everyday use or everyday life. And it really gives some empowering power to you when you realize, even with what you just said, you took what you wanted from the YouTube, but then it's not only about the YouTube. You've found yourself figuring, now I have this content, and you think other ways of how you could make your job even more visible for others, and then help others learn and make them grow and want to try new things too, because now I want to mold and cast something.
Actually, yeah, you've been asking me for a while to get a block of clay, and I want to make my mug more.
Yes, I want to make a mug. Can you imagine a PinUp Miami Tiki mug? I'm just saying, if you want to buy one, let me know down below.
Coming soon.
So what is, I've been to your house. You have a collection of something, and you're actually wearing it on your shirt. If you're watching, he's wearing a Godzilla shirt. If you've seen him driving around town, if you're from South Florida, you've seen a Godzilla truck that actually Godzilla yells. Why Godzilla? He's a collector of Godzilla, and he's one of the largest collectors of Godzilla, no?
Here in South Florida, to my knowledge, yeah, I'm one of the. Well, okay, let's rewind a little bit.
I'm just hyping him up.
But Godzilla was just a childhood monster that I watched, and then my obsession has grown, I guess, in the last few years more so than previously. But I've always been a collector of toys. And I do have one of the largest toy collections in South Florida, and it encompasses an entire 3-bedroom house, floor to ceiling, wall to wall. I'll be sleeping in my car any day now, because the collection is actually beginning to eat the house. But I collect all kinds of things. I have over 200 vintage lunchboxes. I have an entire room of just costume and props. I have Star Wars, Doctor Who, Predator. I have an entire corner of the collection is just dedicated to robots. But Godzilla is the primary, now becoming the dominant aspect of the collection. And yes, my vehicle has a full wrap of Godzilla, and it's basically a Jurassic Park themed look to it. Instead of Jurassic Park, it actually says Godzilla Park. And it does have the horn that roars. So yeah.
And he has a special passenger at all times.
Oh yeah, that's Ralph. There's
You can't just say that's Ralph. Nobody knows who Ralph is.
Nobody knows Ralph. The people, my friends and in my universe, everyone knows Ralph. I have a 3-foot pet roach. He is a 3-foot puppet that I actually fabricated many years ago, and he became something of an enigma, I guess. One day, I just started taking pictures with him at random, posted it on Facebook, and it kind of took off. And now I find myself looking for things to get him in trouble, to get him involved in. I've got him blowing himself up with fireworks. I've got him passed out drunk after New Year's. I've got him, stealing cars and getting into all kinds of trouble. There's actually a photo of him decapitating Darth Vader and everything.
Yeah, you take him to the cons.
I take him to the cons, and he rides in the passenger seat in my van. So people will pull up alongside and they'll see this big Godzilla van, and then they look and they say, they do a double take. It's like, oh my God, there's a giant roach in his car. So yeah, it's interesting. Oh, and he's always holding a Monster energy drink or a Red Bull.
Oh, there you go. He's always on. He's always going. So Jessie, let me ask you one more question. Is what do you see in the future? What is Jessie Melero's future like? What do you see? Any projects, big projects you're working on, so people could keep an eye out for you?
Well, I'm never gonna stop creating. 2, my dream is to get myself my own independent warehouse again. Quick history. I've always worked for production companies, television companies, event companies, all forms of fabrication. For several years, I had my own production company doing props, costumes, and everything. And I ended up getting another job, ultimately, with another extremely prominent production company. I run the entire production department. But at some point, one day, my dream is to have my own building and my own production company again, and just building big. Just gigantic robots and monsters and dragons and whatever I can.
I can't wait to see.
Gotta go big.
Go big or go home,
go
right?
Big or go home. Exactly.
What would be your advice to anybody that, it doesn't have to be just in, well, there's a lot of cosplayers that follow you, but what would be your big advice for somebody that wants to sculpt, construct, or even with me, that if I've always wanted to, I've done small little, no, not really, but if I wanted to try cosplay, what would be 3 tips you'd give somebody?
Number 1, find out what your real passion is. What direction do you want to go? Number 2, do not let anyone tell you you can't do it. That's not for you. You'll never make it. If it's what you want, pursue it. And 3, whatever it takes. See, people say, oh, I've always wanted to do this, or I can't quit smoking, or whatever. They make a lot of self-imposed roadblocks. You have to ask yourself, how bad do you want it, and what are you willing to sacrifice to get it? If you've got to go to night school, if you've got to work long hours, if you've got to practice and practice.
That's true. I would say the same thing as just doing it. There's many things that I failed at, but it's just, you got to try. You can't just sit there and be like, I want to be this, I want it to be that. Like the calendar, I just started this weekend shooting for my Pin South Florida calendar, and Ralph made an appearance.
He did.
Maybe he'll be on the calendar? No.
Hey, who knows?
But
there was a machine gun involved, so
I put it on the Pin South Florida Instagram today. But it's something I've always wanted to do, but I was too scared of. And I said, you know what? I just got to do it. And I don't know how to do it, my resources. But it worked out because I researched it. I contacted people. I contacted people and I just made it happen. And then this year it's grew even more and more. And this is what happens. You learn and you grow. Just like you've been doing this for so many years, and you just keep growing and doing more, and you grow more experience, and it's very admirable, I would have to say.
Oh, thank you.
So make sure that you follow Jesse on Instagram and his YouTube. His YouTube is Jessie Melero, and his Instagram is Jessie_Melero.
And it's Jessie.
Like Toy Story Jessie.
Hmm.
And make sure to follow me on Instagram, PinUp Miami. If you have any questions or you know somebody that you want me to have as a guest in the show, make sure to email me or text me at 1-833-4A-PinUp. Or if you have any questions, comments, concerns, much appreciated. And do you have anything else to say to the Pindcast here?
Just follow your dreams.
Follow your dreams. Good words. And we will see you all next Wednesday. I hope you have a wonderful day.
Bye.